Psychic Matters with Ann Théato, the top-ranked spirituality podcast.
Today, we have the pleasure of diving into the world of meditation with Ann Swanson, author of a wonderful book called Meditation for the Real World, Finding Peace in Everyday Life. And this book, I'm just holding it up here in my hand for those who are watching on YouTube and those who are listening. I'm going to describe to you. It's got lots of different pink Post-it notes in there for little questions that I want to ask Anne all about meditation throughout this interview. So do keep listening, because this book offers a roadmap to integrating meditation into the busiest of schedules. It's got over 75 techniques. It promises to be a guide for anyone seeking mental and physical well-being. And the author, Ann Swanson, is joining us today to talk about her work. So Anne, welcome to Psychic Matters.
I'm so glad to be here with you, Anne.
Oh, bless you. Tell us where you're calling in from today, Anne.
Well, I'm in Hawaii, but I'm looking out the window right now and it's raining. It's not usually raining here, but I'm in Hawaii.
Oh, bless. That's a long, long way from the UK, that's for sure. And of course, there's a big time difference, isn't there, between our two countries? So I'm 7 o'clock in the evening. You must be in the morning. Is that correct?
Yes, early in the morning.
Yeah, bless you. So we're going to be speaking all about your wonderful, wonderful book, Anne. And I was just wondering, as I was reading through it, what is it about your journey that inspired you to begin writing this?
Yeah, meditation did not come naturally to me. I was not a chill person. And through my path, I feel like if I can meditate, anyone can. My mind wanders a lot. I go to worries. Those are the typical things that I've dealt with, as well as, anxiety and chronic pain. And so I feel really sad when people say, "Oh, I've tried meditation, but it didn't work for me. My mind wandered too much." Or, I just can't do it. I can't find the time. And that's what this book really addresses is, number one, we debunked all the myths about meditation based off of science. So I teamed with Harvard neuroscientist Dr. Sarah Lazar, and she and I integrated the most cutting edge science to explain why we as humans are mind wandering machines, and that mind wandering is a part of meditation. So if you feel like your mind wanders, then that's just the second step of meditation. Even the most advanced meditators have mind wandering. So that really shouldn't be a barrier. And then the other aspect of the book is that it's, finding peace in everyday life. It's even when you feel like you're busy, you can integrate meditations into times when you're waiting, when you have that time where you typically would scroll. Like on the cover of the book, we have somebody sitting on a subway or a bus, and she looks super chill. But all around her are people that are hunched over their computers, their laptops, their cell phones, scrolling social media. We tend to scroll while we wait, and that's not so good for our brains. But instead, what if we meditate while we wait? What if we integrate these 1 minute meditations to reset and realign and get back in touch with ourselves and our intuition? How would that change our lives? How would we show up in the world if we did that? So that's what this is about. It's for busy people with busy minds.
It's great to hear that you say about the busy mind and for people that feel they can't meditate, because I think perhaps we've got it in our own minds that meditation has to be sitting quietly on a yoga mat, focusing on the breath, looking into an imaginary candle or a real candle or something like this. Yeah. And we can't live up to that expectation. So can you say a little bit about that for us?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that would be really my third intention of the book, is to debunk that myth. You don't have to sit on the floor on a cushion with chanting in the background. The person on the cover is, eyes open in a public space. You don't have to do it the way you're imagining a monk would do it, because guess what? You're not a monk. This is not meditation for monks. This is meditation for the real world. How can we use it to help us with intuition, productivity, lowering our blood pressure, depression, anxiety, when we're feeling overwhelmed from doom scrolling? So the book is really organized as a handbook for those situations in life. You find that situation you're dealing with, and there's a meditation to help you through that.
Yeah, you've got so many different meditations. We'll come to them, but just going back a little, you said earlier on, and we've only been speaking for a couple of minutes, I know, but you did say you found it difficult yourself to still that mind. So
Yeah.
going back before then, tell us about your earlier life. Were you and how you came to write this book? What's your background here? Because I know you've got another book called The Science of Yoga. So,
Yes.
so that must be part of your experience as well. But go back to your earlier life, if you would, and talk us through what brought you to this, rather than going to be, I don't know, a biology teacher or a mathematician or a lawyer. Why are you a writer of such things?
Well, I was a biology teacher, anatomy and physiology instructor, and ran a cadaver lab. But that was part of my path. My path started really as, being an anxious child, really into art. And I went to art school originally and studied illustration and ultimately documentary film. And that led me around the world, and I was able to do filmmaking in South America and China. And eventually, I ended up going to India to study yoga. This was because I started to feel the impacts for myself, for my own chronic pain and anxiety. But even at this point, the meditation practice was the harder part of yoga for me. By the time I would get to that portion of the class, I'd be looking at my watch like, all right, it's time to go. I have things to do. I already did the quote unquote yoga part. So, when I went to India and I really dove in and was able to understand more about the philosophy as well as the science. My teacher, my guru was self-taught in anatomy, physiology, and science, and that sparked something in me. As somebody that had that, art background, I knew that if I wanted to be the best yoga teacher possible, I needed to understand the science also to meld the worlds of the therapeutic art in the East with the West, and so that it can be accepted and integrated into our lives and into policies. So I knew that this was the path I needed to take. So I went back and I thought I would, you know, go into something in the medical field. So I did the pre-med course load, worked in a cadaver lab, became a massage therapist at night, just explored the human body from that
Hang
other
on, hang on, hang
perspective.
on. You worked in a cadaver lab. That is interesting and slightly off topic,
Yes.
but what did you do there?
Yeah, so I was an assistant in a cadaver lab, and then I also ran my own when I taught anatomy and physiology. And so really just teaching future nurses about the body and what's going on.
So these were
So
human body parts that you would take out of the formalin or whatever you had them preserved in, and
yeah,
people would.
yeah, we had full bodies, and then we had go in the back and grab me a jar of hearts or testicles, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Anything. We had jars of anything back there. And, I remember the first time that I held a human brain.
Wow.
It was, for me, spiritual, not clinical. Everybody else was just, writing down. It wasn't the spiritual experience for them. For me, I was like in awe. That
Yeah.
brain had once computed mathematics and felt love. That was a real human brain. And it's so dense, but also it's fairly small. So much in it. So for me, it was always a spiritual experience to explore anatomy and physiology, and then apply it to yoga and massage and body work. So that's what I studied, and I thought I would go into the medical field, but I ended up, joining the Master of Science in Yoga Therapy program. I was the very last person to join this first cohort of this very first master's degree. And that was perfect for me. That was exactly what I wanted. So from having my master's degree in yoga therapy, I got the first book, Science of Yoga, which explores the science behind the practice, how yoga affects every single system of your body. And I worked with some of the best illustrators and designers in the world. Aaron Lewis did these amazing illustrations. And this book, it has a lot of beautiful poses in it, and most people like me came to yoga for the poses first.
And this
But
is,
what,
sorry, just to describe
yeah,
to those listening on, keep showing us the pages. The audio listeners, of course, who can't see the pictures, Anne is just flicking through her beautiful book, The Science of Yoga, and showing us these beautiful illustrations of yoga poses. But those illustrations show the muscles of the body, do they not?
yes, exactly. And every system of the body is illuminated through it. We have the lungs and the digestive system, the nervous system. So diving under the skin. But the physical gets people into it, and it's very important. It prepares our body and mind for meditation, but where the magic happens is the meditation. So I knew the next book, I wanted to still be science-backed and about now meditation and the more, some people would say esoteric practices, but I didn't want to make it esoteric. I wanted to make it accessible and inclusive and non-intimidating. So it has both the science, but also step by step. So here's what you do. Here's a technique. And if you've tried a meditation technique before and it didn't work for you, there's one in here that will, because it's actually, you said 75 plus. It's because there's 83 we counted.
Ah.
And that just doesn't sound as good.
Well, it's incredibly impressive to have that amount of different techniques. And these are very varied techniques, listeners and viewers, may I just say. These are techniques I'm just flicking through randomly now. There's one technique for unraveling headaches. There's one for meditation for pregnancy. There's one for meditating with other people, recovering from trauma, combating anxiety and worry. I mean, it goes on, all of these different journeys and trajectories for different issues people in the real world will be coming across, doesn't it, Anne?
Yes, absolutely. And for me, I realized as a yoga therapist that it's not a one size fits all. It's not just one meditation technique helps all for everybody. You may need a different technique. And when you're anxious, I would give a different technique than when you're depressed, right? So it's going to affect your energy therapeutically in a different way.
So if you're thank you for that explanation. And I'm thinking if you're a complete beginner, Anne, I love the fact that we're both called Anne, by the way. If you're a complete beginner, Anne, what would you find from your book here a particularly effective technique for somebody who's just starting?
So I really love the 1 minute meditations scattered throughout the book
I
as a
like the sound
way
of
to,
those. 1 minute.
yes, we're going to do one right now, actually,
Okay,
as so that
great.
your listeners can experience it. Even if you're driving, even if you're walking, you can still do it eyes open in those circumstances. It doesn't have to be seated on a floor on a pillow. You can sit however you want. You can stand. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this moment, this minute, to reset our nervous systems, to come back to ourselves and presence. So this is called the five senses meditation. And I have a longer version of this meditation at meditationfortherealworld.com where you can find out about the book and get into the meditation challenge for free. And so there's a longer version of it too to practice it. But this short version, all you have to remember to do it on your own is the five senses. So if you'd like to be sitting, you can sit a little taller, but however you are, just notice your posture. And eyes wide open to start. I want you to notice what you see. And if possible, look outside, like out a window, or maybe if you're in a larger space, look farther away. So you're not looking at a screen. Our eyes and brain really like to have that expansive view, not this narrow view we tend to focus on. So allow your vision to expand. Allow your eyes to soften and take in the light, the colors, textures around you. And if you'd like, and it's appropriate, you can close your eyes. And same thing here, you're going to notice the light and colors and textures that you see, even with the eyes closed, if you choose so. And now bringing your attention to the sounds from far away to up close. my voice. Maybe you can even hear, amidst all the other sounds, the sound of your breath in the foreground. Deep inhale through the nose. Notice any smells. Exhale slowly. Notice any tastes. And then feeling the sensations in your body, your physical body under your skin. Maybe you feel compelled to readjust your posture, or stretch, or move a little. Listen to your body. What is your body asking for? What wisdom is there when you listen? And now taking it all in simultaneously, noticing your physical sense, smells, tastes, all that you hear. If your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes, notice what you see, and take in all your five senses simultaneously. And then you'll continue to listen to our conversation with this new sense of awareness, which this 1 minute meditation, these five senses, quickly going through them is a great break when you're emailing, when you're looking at a screen, when you're in between activities to reset your nervous system.
Oh, Anne, that's absolutely beautiful. You know, having done that with you and alongside you, along with everybody else, I feel very filled with energy, actually. I feel like I'm vibrating at on a slightly different level than I was 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think that actually we're always vibrating. We don't always notice that. We start getting bogged down with our thoughts, and a lot of times our thoughts are distractible. And if you have a busy mind like me, it's distractible as well as perhaps negative. Sometimes our minds go to things that are negative. It can feel like we're weighing ourselves down. And when we just come to the five senses, we become present. We're able to listen to our intuition. And I think we feel lighter. We feel that true vibration that's always there, right? That vitality that we can just get in touch with.
I think it's great because it also, for me just now, not only did I feel more that vitality, but I felt calmer and clearer and better able to think. When I first started that meditation, you were saying, concentrate on what you could hear. And my boiler kicked in. I had to put myself on mute really loudly. And I was just thinking, oh, here we go. Distracted already, 10 seconds in. But just keeping the focus on your words and what you were asking us to do, I was able to put all that to one side, actually. And just in that tiny, tiny meditation, I feel better.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you shared that because I'm sure some listeners experience that now or in other meditations. All the sounds present, whether it's an ambulance, a child screaming, you don't have to have perfect silence to meditate. Those can all be your meditation. They can be part of that experience. And if it is perfectly silent, honestly, that's not great practice because we want to be able to keep our zen, our chill through the day during chaos. We want to be able to find calm amidst the chaos. And so when there's sound like that and you can still be calm, you're truly practicing what we want, practicing presence. And practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes presence. So I think that it's really important to accept those sounds and not have the expectation that it needs to be perfectly silent to meditate
Yeah, I
or to
think
be
they
at
add,
peace.
yeah, they add to it, don't they? I think in some
Yeah.
way. Yeah, that was really great. I think perhaps we've all got, I'm speaking for myself, but I think I speak on behalf of others, where you think you have to put a chunk of time aside each day, which is why you never meditate, because we don't have these chunks of time.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I love the 1 minute meditations, or even, when you're really frustrated, you're about to yell at your kids, that one breath meditation can make a big difference, right? If we strategically place these practices in those moments, but also while you're waiting. A lot of times you have that 5 minutes on the subway or bus, like on the cover, or perhaps you picking up your kids from school and you're sitting in the car waiting for them rather than scrolling or looking at your email. That could be a time to do a meditation. So I like to integrate it into those moments into my life. And then if you want to develop like a practice, the true science-backed way to do, whether it's a 5 minute practice or a 10 minute practice, I don't suggest starting with 20 or 30. And honestly, 10 minutes is going to be a huge benefit. So if you want to start that practice, you want to integrate it with an activity you already have a strong habit of. So for me, for example, I already sit in front of this like red light machine because I have chronic pain, and this red light helps with inflammation and pain. So I'm already doing that. I might as well meditate while I'm doing that rather than scrolling my phone, right? So maybe there's an activity during it you can do, or perhaps before or after. Like if you make your coffee or tea in the morning and you have it sitting there brewing and you're smelling it before you take your first sip, you do a 5 or 10 minute meditation. So you can integrate it into something you already have a habit of. And it could even be the 1 minute meditation. You don't have to do the 5 or 10, but if you want to develop that, there's benefits to that too.
Yeah, I think that's great to build it into what you already do. If I had to wait 5 or 10 minutes for my cup of tea, I like my cup of tea scalding hot, fresh from the kettle. I could
Oh,
literally
yeah.
drink it out of the spout. So 5 minutes would be too
Yes.
cold. But to do 1 minute, why? That's so doable
Yes. The one
throughout the
minute for the
day.
tea. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. What so what time do you think is the best time of day to meditate?
I think the best time is the time you actually do. That's going to be my answer,
I love it. Yeah.
So that's going to depend for everybody. Now, I truly do think that these 1 minute meditations and these brief practices fit right in that critical moment when you're about to press send on that email and you're about to think you might regret it. Turn your chair around, look out the window, do your five senses meditation, turn back. Maybe you'll have some edits to that email, right? If you can fit it into moments like that, you're going to change the way you interact with the world, right? A 1 minute meditation before you go on stage rather than scrolling or texting somebody, that's going to make you a better speaker. So if you can fit it in a critical time in your life and get in the habit of that, or even as a wind down, like I know a lot of people, whether you work from home or you drive home and you're about to leave your work life, behind you and start your family life in the car or right before you go to the living room, if you work from home, do a meditation so that you can really reset and let go of your day and get back to your family. That's going to make the biggest impact in your life. You're going to see a huge impact in your life in those sort of situations I gave you. But traditionally, it's done in the morning. I think that just like exercise, if you can get it behind you, like that's also a really great thing to set the tone for your day. So for example, if you wanted to do that 10-minute meditation challenge, then I would suggest finding something to pair it with in the morning, right after I brush my teeth. I'm gonna do this. Or
Yeah.
perhaps you like to see the sunrise. I'm going to sit outside on the porch, and that's when I'm going to do it. I always sit outside in the porch and listen and see the sunrise. Whatever activity you already do, try to fit it in there.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Do you think oh gosh, to watch the sunrise, I never even think about doing that. What a beautiful thing to do. I think it's because in the UK it's been so miserable and dark and it's been raining forever. So but I must
Yes.
consider doing that because it is a beautiful time of day, isn't it, before anybody else gets
Mhm.
up as you watch the world wake up.
And it's so beneficial for your brain and for your circadian rhythm. So I have a whole section in the book about this. I'm using science to optimize your meditation practice and your life. So this example, when you are outside, whether you actually see the sunrise or not, say you're in the UK and it's cloudy, It doesn't matter. Just going outside and seeing the light in the morning, it's different than the light in midday and at night. So in the light in the morning, it has more blues in it. Just the sky in general, the colors, the spectra of the UV rays, there's more blues. And they tell your body to wake up. And you release a little cortisol, that stress hormone, but that's actually a good thing because it's going to help you focus. So it's going to help you get to it, focus, get some energy. We want our levels to be higher in the morning of cortisol so that they can drop in the evening. Then if you were to do, let's say, a walking meditation midday and get the sunshine. So just take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, go outside and walk. I pace in my backyard, but maybe there's a park or somewhere nearby you could just walk and do a little meditation while you're walking. I have a section of walking meditation there. My favorite technique is to imagine you're the happiest person on earth. So you walk as if you were, and you start to stand a little taller. You start to notice the sunshine and the birds a little bit more. So there's lots of different cues you can do to turn your walk into a meditation, but that's my favorite.
Oh, I
And then
love
if you were to
that.
watch the sunset, there's reds in the sunset. The warm colors tell your body to release less cortisol and more melatonin. So it's a great time to do an open eye meditation, or even just take a little moment of mindful praise and gratitude to see that sunset light. Like I said, you don't have to see the sun actual set. The sky itself is helpful. It's the colors that are in the sky at that time.
Oh God, it's so interesting, isn't it? The science behind it. Is it better to do these short bursts of meditation in a day, even if you can only do one minute, or is it better and more effective to do 20 minutes, half an hour, or an hour? What's the best benefit?
That's a great question. And we don't have research comparing the two of those yet, to my knowledge. However, we do have a lot of research that's very recent at comparing short bursts of exercise, like doing less than a minute, 20 seconds of squats through the day, just scattered through your day, versus, an hour of exercise, or doing it like how we in the modern day think of exercising. It's going to be like an hour 3 times a week, right? Compared to these short bursts, it's crazy how much more beneficial it is. What the research is showing, huge systematic reviews about how it's better for your blood sugar levels to fit little walks and little bursts of exercise through your day rather than just doing one long session. It's better for your stress, your mental health. It's better for your cardiovascular system. So my prediction is that we'll start to do that same research on meditation, and that the same is true of meditation. Remember, this is very recent in the exercise world that we're coming to this conclusion. And it's just common sense. Like, we as humans are not meant to sit at a computer all day and then go work out for an hour. Like, that's not how
Yeah,
we evolved to be. We
no.
need that blood flowing constantly. So if you set an alarm for every 20 to 30 minutes to get up and walk around and move, you're going to get a much better outcomes. Your cognition is better too. Cerebral blood flow is better. I believe the same is true of meditation. So when we integrate these little moments through the day, we become more mindful. We become more present. We get those immediate benefits to our life. And that's really what we're supposed to do, is to be present in our everyday life, to connect, to live a little slower life than I think the modern day pushes us to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm sure I read somewhere while I was doing my how do I lose weight research
Mhm.
about how we used to be literally chased by lions, tigers, and bears, and how
Yes.
that those bursts of adrenaline actually benefit weight loss because they're short bursts. Is that kind of what you're sort of saying with these in terms of using that? I don't really know. I'm not a medical person.
Yeah.
Am I
I think
making
that's a
any
really
sense
good
to you?
point. I think that's a good point. And meditation helps you come down from those short bursts of stress. So right now we don't have the saber-toothed tiger chasing after us. But guess what? We get stressful emails. We
Yes.
have screaming kids. We have things that stress us out and release the adrenaline and cortisol stress hormones in the same way. But if you can train your brain and your body to go from that intense state down to the relaxed state quicker, and that's what meditation does, then you're going to have a lot better cardiac resilience and resilience with your mental health. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Thank you. You spoke earlier about having chronic pain and you sit in front
Mm.
of a red light. And I'm sure a lot of people here have back pains or hip pains or whatever their pains are. We all have them. Um, how can you get comfortable doing meditation?
Mm.
What's your advice there?
Yeah, good question. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have to sit on the floor. You don't have to sit in any way. You could sit in a chair. You can put cushion behind your back. If you need to walk or move during your meditation, the walking meditation is a great option. I have several other movement meditations and ways we can integrate mindfulness into our physical movement in the book. So it doesn't have to be seated. But one of my favorite things to do when I'm experiencing I get full body chronic pain. So it's like all my joints at once. So maybe your back or like full body, like you lie down and you do something called a yoga nidra. This translated just means yoga sleep or yoga nap. It's like a little nap and it's longer. Like you'd think, oh, 20 to 30 minutes. I could never meditate that way. But when you're lying down and you're guided through this, it's like a nap. You start to, when you're about to fall asleep, you kind of twitch. You start to like do that and you get into the sleep stage. And when we hook up electrodes on people's skulls and look at their brain activity, we see that they actually go into delta wave activity in their brain, which is typically only seen in sleep. So you're getting some of the benefits of sleep from this meditation. So you feel rejuvenated afterwards. So I do this a lot for chronic pain. And as a kind of reset when you're in the afternoon and you're like, should I take a nap? Should I have another coffee? What should I do? It's a great one to like rejuvenate. So there's so many different types of meditation to do with pain. You could even put pillows under you, prop yourself up, get super comfy.
Yeah, I love the yoga nidra. I often do those. In fact, I've just released an audio track of yoga nidra. It's only 10 minutes, but
Oh,
it's
cool.
like having, an hour or two of sleep for those 10 minutes when you just feel so refreshed afterwards. I absolutely
Yes.
love yoga nidra. And in your book, you've got a beautiful yoga nidra exercise that you talk everybody through with step-by-step instructions, which is really beautiful and lovely illustration again by your artist. Who illustrated your book, did you say?
Michelle Mildenberg Lara, she does a lot of work for the New Yorker and the New York Times. So it's this like quirky style with beautiful colors. It's a
Yeah.
perfect gift book. This is like a relaxing experience to flip through for the people that love books. You hear the sound of the page, you feel it. You were saying earlier, you love the size of it. It fits in your purse. So it's that perfect gift book for somebody who either loves meditation or has been told to meditate but can't quite get into it.
Yeah, it is the perfect gift book. You're absolutely right. And before we went on air, I was saying to Anne how I loved the colors of the book, how I love the feel of the book. It's got this beautiful hard cover on it, and the design of it is very unusual, actually. It's very different to a lot of books out there. And I just love the way it's laid out with a double page for each exercise and these beautiful illustrations, like you said. And um, I mean, I just love books, and this is just amazing. It's
Me
somebody
too.
sent me a book recently as a gift for something completely different. And it had little things in it like this, and I treasure it. So this is a wonderful book, people, if you want to send somebody a present. Um,
Yes.
and people listening to this podcast know that I recently had a bereavement and my mother passed away. And it was after long illness of dementia and various other things. So I feel perfectly fine now. But you did say to me, "Oh, I've got a meditation in my book for grief." And
Yeah,
you
I
do. And
do.
I went to do that meditation. But what it brought up for me was a lot of difficult emotions. And I just thought, no, I'm not going here. No, not going to do it. And I
Yeah.
sort of went away from what I should have pursued, if you see. So, a question for you: how do we deal with difficult emotions when they come up for us like this?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is making sure you're in a safe place for a meditation and noticing, when it is uncomfortable. And as you did, stopping. If it's uncomfortable, you can come back to it when you're ready. So to cultivate a safe space, I say, perhaps you're at home. It's a time where you feel comfortable to do something a little bit more in depth like that. My example of non-safe spaces, I tried this like anxiety meditation while I was at the doctor's office about to get a procedure and it made me pass out, right? Like it wasn't the time to do
Right,
that.
right. Yes.
Um, so like make sure you're feeling safe and comfortable and know your own boundaries. So it's good that you stop when you're not comfortable. A big part of grieving is understanding where you are in that stage of grief. And it sounds like that gave you a little bit of insight of where you were in that stage of grief.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it did. And I think that's great to stop if it's not appropriate.
Let me give an example of for me when I would go to the doctor's office and I would pass out. So I decided I would get a meditation that I could do in that situation. So I went to a yoga teacher and they said, okay, so what you want to do is notice your body awareness and your breath awareness, really classic mindfulness techniques a lot of us have done or tried in a meditation. It's probably the most common focal point you're given in a meditation. So I go there and I'm prepared. I'm like, all right, the doctor's about to start the procedure. I'm going to notice my body. And oh my gosh, my heart, it's beating out of my chest. And then I start to go pale and I taste metal. And then I notice my breath and it's betraying me. And boom, I pass out faster than I ever have passed out before. Now, it turns out when I looked into the research that breath awareness and body awareness, like internal body awareness, is not good during acute anxiety, like during a anxiety attack, when you're really feeling panic or overwhelm. It's very common that it'll make it feel worse. So this thing that typically makes us feel calm when we're in a safe space, in that non-safe space, it made me feel very uncomfortable and made things worse. So I think I like to tell this story because a lot of listeners have probably done a meditation and they're like, oh, that didn't help. It actually made me feel more anxious because I was noticing all my thoughts coming. Well, it's not that you're bad at meditating, number one. It's that you are doing the wrong meditation technique either for you or for that situation. You weren't ready for it. It wasn't right for you. So if anybody's listening, they're like, okay, well, what do I do if I feel panic or if I'm at the doctor's office and I have that same situation of almost passing out or whatever situation might make you feel that overwhelm? Well, rather than internal body awareness, you want to bring your awareness outward. So you can still do a meditation. Meditation is critical for me in those moments. And now I don't pass out because I use these techniques. So one of them is to notice what's on the outside of you. So I notice three things I see, you know, okay, doctor, the chair, and the nurse. Three things I hear. All right. I hear these three different things. And then I will move three different body parts, or if I can't move, I'll feel my feet on the ground, the outside of my body, press my hands, turn them palm facing down to feel more grounded. Now, that's if I have to be present and answer questions. If I don't have to be present in a situation like I'm getting a dental procedure, I am definitely going to use a visualization meditation technique. I'm going to imagine I'm at the beach. I'm curling my toes in the sand. I'm feeling that sense of ease and calm of how I feel at the beach. And so that's another technique you can use to just kind of go elsewhere for a few moments and feel at ease. So there's different techniques, and that's what this book is all about, is what technique would be helpful for you in that situation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's a meditation for every situation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What about creating a daily habit then? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I would re-emphasize the pairing it, habit pairing, pair it with
Yes.
something. Think of, actually, as you're listening right now, think of something that you already have a strong habit of. And whether you want to do the 5 or 10 minute practice or fit those 1 minute meditations in, where could you fit it in? And you want to think of something before, during, or after that activity you're going to do. So that's the tried and true way to develop a habit. However, if it doesn't work for you, you iterate, you change it. You have permission to change it. It doesn't mean you're a failure. Life changes. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I don't have my red light. I can't do my meditation during my red light. I have to find something new to pair it with in that situation. So that's a really critical thing, is to be self-compassionate and be willing to change it. And for these 1 minute meditations, I like to integrate them into lots of different activities in my life. And um, I can give you a few more examples that you can integrate. So
Yes, please.
everybody might have some water or something to hydrate them nearby. If you do, grab it and take a sip. Feel the coolness or warmth, the temperature of the water moving down through you. Feel the nourishment, the cleansing of that, and just take a moment. And if you need more, take more water. Listen to your body. Does it need more water? So I call that the hydration meditation. It's less than a minute. It's actually something that therapists do a lot. So now you're going to notice your therapist taking sips of water in between challenging things that you may say. It's a cleansing technique. It helps you kind of cleanse and reset and on to the next thing. So perhaps one email and then do your water and on to the next task. So that can be a really helpful one. So I like to integrate them through like activities I know I'm already doing, like sipping water, or I have my medication meditation too. I take
Hold
my
on to the
pills.
medication one, because the
Yes.
cleansing technique is interesting for those of us that do mediumship.
Mm.
Because when we're demonstrating mediumship in front of an audience of people, we will do a link from a spirit communicator and deliver the messages. And then when we're finished, we will take a sip of water to
Oh, you already do it.
energetically break that connection. But it's interesting. I'm just going to take a sip now.
Yeah.
Because my throat is dry. But what's interesting is I take a sip of water to sort of energetically disconnect from that spirit communicator and wait for the next one to come in. But I never think about what you've just said, which is listen to your body as you just feel that cleansing and that
Yes.
release. And I think I'd like to incorporate that now into my demonstration. So thank you.
Yes. Bask in it, do what psychologists call savoring it.
Yes.
Really feel the nourishment and the cleansing from it. And you'll set that intention and get more cleansing from it and on to the next. I love that
Yeah.
example. And learned something new. I knew therapists did it, but I didn't know that it
Yeah.
was helpful in that situation.
Yeah.
I'm
It
a
is.
massage therapist. Another technique we do is that when we walk into the room, to work with a new client, when we touch the doorknob, right about to walk in, I take a mindful moment. I let go of anything from outside of the room. I let go of any of my stuff because I don't want to bring that energetically into the client. And the second I touch it, it tells me to do that. And then I walk in the room and I'm in a new space. I'm in a new healing and focus mindset. So finding those little ways you can use your present moment awareness to reset and come back into whatever you want to do, into focus and to connection, whatever the intention may be.
Yeah, beautiful. You were going to tell us, and I interrupted you, about medication
Yes.
technique.
I'm glad you interrupted me. That was fascinating.
Thank you.
So another one I do this with a lot of my clients, is, taking your medication, even if it's just my vitamins, can be hard to remember. So I turn it into a meditation. So as I take each pill, I feel it going down, and then afterwards I feel the nourishment from it, and I feel a gratitude that I have this, that I have, the healing from it, and I visualize it healing me. I visualize it working.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. I love, love, love it. I love it because it's so easy to integrate into our everyday. I just think, that example and all the others that you've mentioned so far. You have also in your book, you do cover or explore unconventional meditation methods, such as incorporating movement or art. What inspired you to include those as alternative
It's all
meditation?
about the real world, right? So I went to art school originally, and when I go to an art museum and I stop and pause and take it in, it is this present moment awareness that just I naturally experience. I learned it, I guess, in art school, but I've always had that awe of art. So perhaps you have something in your life that already brings that present moment awareness. Maybe you play a musical instrument and it gets you into that flow state. Now, how can we use that to enhance our meditation and use our meditation to enhance that activity? Right. So that's a lot of what I integrate into the book is like making it personalized for you, whether you're into art or guitar or swimming. How do you integrate your meditation into that effectively so that you become a better swimmer, so that you are more creative when you're doing your art?
It's interesting because, again, with mediumship, it's not just about bringing messages through from spirit communicators, but it's often working with the spirit world that we might channel the minds of the many from the spirit world in order that we can focus in on something like playing the piano or doing art, etc., and allow
Hmm.
spirit to work with us to produce with us that piece of art or that piece of music. So it's very interesting. It's similar.
Yes, absolutely. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're integrating a lot of meditation techniques in getting in touch with
Being
that,
present, yeah, being very,
yeah.
very present and just allowing again the flow from the spirit world to just flow through you, through your higher self, through like I say, the minds of the many within the spirit world, the great artists that are dead in the physical but alive in the spirit realm, that they might be able to work through us, their energy flowing through us. So yeah, great
Yeah.
musicians,
And
great artists.
it sounds like, you know, psychic mediumship as well as meditation is an act of deep listening.
Yes, correct.
And we think of prayer, and we even see it neurologically when we put people in brain scans, is that it's the act of speaking to God.
Yes.
It lights up areas in your brain similar to having a conversation and speaking. And then meditation lights up areas more similar to listening and visualization. And I would predict, although we have no research of this, that the psychic mediumship does the same thing. It's that listening aspect that your brain is going into that activity and lighting up those areas and practicing deep, intuitive listening. That's what meditation is for me. It's listening to my body and the intuition. And whether that's, you know, mine or the whole spirit world coming through me. It's an active listening.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, wonderful similarity. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of these beautiful meditation techniques. Your book, Meditation for the Real World, Finding Peace in Everyday Life, where can people buy it?
Yeah, you can buy it wherever books are sold, but if you go to meditationfortherealworld.com, you'll see the links and you'll join the meditation challenge. And it's just 5 days, less than 10 minutes a day, science-backed meditations that incorporate music and sounds that have been engineered to optimize your brain waves. So I add extra levels of that science-backed benefits to it. And it's really accessible. I give those tips for the 1 minute meditations too throughout the challenge. So I would highly recommend it. And it's meditationfortherealworld.com.
That is beautiful. So, does that come directly to you? Can people contact you if they want to, I don't know, ask you anything?
Yeah.
They go
Yeah,
through that
definitely.
through the website, meditationfortherealworld.com.
You'll get an email every day for the next 5 days after you sign up of the meditations. You'll continue to have access to them if you want to go back to them, but you can reply to the email, ask me a question. But I also recommend, take a picture of the book when you get it and post it on Instagram, and then we'll talk over DM on Instagram or in message. So my Instagram is at scienceof.yoga. That's the channel that you can tag and connect with me there too. That's another way we can chat.
Fantastic. So that's Instagram and your website. Are you on any other social media platforms?
YouTube, it's Ann Swanson Wellness, and I have a Yoga Nidra. Actually, I'll give you to link
Perfect.
below. That's specifically for chronic pain, since we spoke of that, and it's one of my most popular videos.
Fantastic. Ann Swanson Wellness on YouTube. Everybody go and subscribe to Ann's channel and give her a bit of support there. And that way you'll benefit, because you'll benefit from all of her beautiful videos and content. And it's been fabulous. And thank you so much on behalf of everybody listening and watching for your time and generosity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have been watching the Psychic Matters podcast with Ann Théato, the only podcast to push forward the boundaries of human consciousness to redefine the significance of living. Subscribe now so you don't miss future episodes.